before the year gets too far away from us, let's do a quick book haul. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is going to be a book haul for the first 4 months of the year. This is everything that I've purchased digitally and physically, and a couple of gifts from January through to April of 2026. Now, I haven't been purchasing a hell of a lot this year. In fact, this book haul in digital and physical form probably looks like a book haul that I would have done per month in my OG booktube days. I just haven't been gravitating towards buying new books, trying to read stuff on the shelves, but I am still picking up little bits here and there, and before it gets away from me and I just forget what I've bought this year, I thought we would run through them very quickly. So I'm going to start with the digital books, and I'll have all the covers up here, starting with audiobooks and then ebooks, and then we'll finish off with the physical. And what prompted this was I just went and took a bag of books to a secondhand bookshop, and then I came home with I think 8 or 9 books, which makes up a majority of this haul. So we'll just run through them. To start us off with the audiobooks, I have purchased Storm and Shield by J.D. Evans. This is book 2 in the Mages of the Wheel series. So I read book 1 earlier this year. I enjoyed it enough. I bought book 2 before I'd finished book 1, so I haven't decided if I'm going to continue on with this series, but I do have book 2 on audio if I decide to continue, and I'll probably keep going the audio route for that one. The next one that I picked up was The Sixth Strand by Melissa McPhail. This is book 5 in the Patterns of Light and Shadow. Patterns of Shadow and Light. I'm going to get to the end of this year and still not know what order those go in, but it's one of them. I had books 1 through 4 on audio. The 5th one was the last one that I didn't have, so I picked that up. I was gifted a copy of To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. So this one came from Ryan, my co-host over at Drum & Blender. So thank you, Ryan. I know nothing about it. I just got an email saying, hey, this has been gifted to you from Libro, on Libro. So I have it when I picked it up. I think it's a novella, but don't quote me on that. I know that they like Becky Chambers a lot. We both enjoyed a couple of the, I think it's the Wayfarers series, but then both DNF'd the series after book 3, I think it was. But I know that Ryan likes a lot of Becky Chambers' novellas, so I'm guessing this is one that they have enjoyed. I was also gifted a eARC copy of an audiobook called Copper Skin, Oak and Lungs by Adam Bassett. I really love this one, and I've talked about it in a wrap-up before. It was my book of the month for one of the months that has been this year. Can't recommend it enough. And the performances in this book were really, really good as well. And then I also got, my most recent purchase was a book called Vile Lady Villains. This is by, I want to say Denai. I apologize if I've mispronounced that. Krista Palau. And again, I apologize if I've pronounced that incorrectly. This is a book that I'm going to be reading with Faye from Books and Chocoholic. I've gone down the audio route just because my physical reading is being taken up a lot by sort of beta and alpha reads at the moment. So if I'm going to have any chance of buddy reading, it's probably going to be on audio. So I picked this one up. And this is the story of 2 infamous lady villains. So Lady Macbeth, and I cannot pronounce this person's name. Clytemnestra? Clytemnestra. I apologize. This is the wife of Agamemnon's, who killed him once he came back from the Battle of Troy. So it's her and Lady Macbeth in a story together, and that is enough for me to go, I'm very curious about what that could be like. And the last 2 audiobooks that I actually have physical copies, but these are books I want to get to hopefully before the end of this year, and because I'm consuming more books that I can talk about on audio, I picked them up there, and they're both relatively short audiobooks for my own sort of reading. So the first one is Most Ardently. This is by Gabe Kolnova, and this is a trans-masc retelling of Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I liked Pride and Prejudice, the source material on audio, so I think because it's sort of flowery and that classic sort of prose, audio is probably going to be the way for me to go, so I bought an audio copy of that. And I also bought an audio copy of Blood Reunion by J.C.M. Burns. This is book 3 in the Hybrid Helix series. I believe book 4 is being recorded or almost out, and I probably will get that one as well. I really liked book 1 on audio, and then I read book 2 physically, I'll probably go back to the audio for whatever is available and then like switch back to physical copies once I hit where audio stops off. So those are all the audiobooks. I will now quickly go to the ebooks. So I've got a couple of ARCs here. The first one is A Call to Bones by D.H. Hoskins. This one I have read and I've enjoyed. It's like a cool little prequel to the Council of Ethesia. While I prefer the main series personally, this is a good entry point. You don't need to read a lot about the Council of Ethesia to be able to enter into this world and get a bit of a taste for it. So good little introduction there. I also was given an art copy of The Fate of Thieves by Tori Tekken. This one has just released. I had every intention of reading this before the release date. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for me, but it is novella, and I'm hoping to get to that one before the end of the year. Thank you to the crows outside. I picked up book 2 of Chance Dillon's series. Ill is the Fate. I cannot remember is it the Mercy Tears series, I think. Don't quote me on that. But I have book 2. I would need to reread book 1 because I read book 1 as a beta reader back in the day. I haven't read it since, like, it's gone through edits and whatnot. So I do have book 2. I will get it physically at some point, but I wanted to support the author with the ebook when it was coming out to count for pre-orders. So I have that. When I get the hardcover to match the first one, I'm hoping to buy it directly from the author. Speaking of directly from the author, I bought Flower and Forge by Herman Stuernagel. Really, I like Herman Stuernagel's anything that I've read from him before. So I've read a couple of things. This is in his Cozy series, and anything I picked up from this author I've enjoyed, so I've got that one to go as well. And the last one that I've got here is a book called The Castle of a Thousand Doors. This is by Kenny Gould, and this is a new-to-me author who has come through Bard and Butter, but we got to speak to him a little bit the other day, and just hearing that one of the characters in this story is an evil potato and it is progression fantasy has me very curious. So I picked up both the audio and the ebook for this one actually, and I'm hoping to read this while I'm in the UK and do a bit of sort of both across there. So those are all the electronic books that I've got, and now we'll move on to the physical. This may not be all the physical that I've purchased. These are just the ones that I can remember. I started like recording them to say like what I had bought, and then I stopped doing that. I stopped doing a lot of things this year that I started with, but anyway. The first one I'll talk about was a gift. This was from a buddy, Mark Timoney. So I do have this series, but he has these beautiful 10th anniversary editions of the 10 books of Malazan. So I've been meaning to like get them from him in Sydney because I know that he is sort of passing them on. He does most of his reading digitally now, and it's beautiful. I will hopefully get more of the set, but I was able to pick this one up earlier this year, so thank you, Mark, for giving that one to me. And the only other hardcover I have here is a pre-order of of Blood and Fire by Ryan Cahill. Now, I don't know if Ryan Cahill is going to be for me, to be completely honest with you. I read The Fall, and I wasn't as wowed by it as a lot of other people seem to have been. I thought it was fine. I didn't think there was anything new there. I think I'm going to have to be in the mood to go into Of Blood and Fire, because this is sort of classic fantasy that doesn't really stray from tropes, if I'm understanding that correctly. It's been pegged as like classic fantasy with a modern twist. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about the modern twist. I have heard people say that this is good storytelling, but it's very familiar. It's not sort of trying to do anything different, and that is quite comforting for a lot of people. Personally, I like when authors sort of push boundaries and sort of create their own voice, so we'll see. I may be wrong about this. I'm willing to give book 1 a go. I have purposefully not bought more books in the series. This is the Trad Pub edition, and I got it from, where did I get it from? Booktopia. When they did the pre-order for it. I don't know if I'll continue doing it. I'll read this one first and see where I'm going to sit. I do have books 1 through 3 digitally. We'll see. I do not know if it's going to be for me, but I'm willing to give that one a go, and whatever the next novella is. Then this one that was very early in the year. In fact, I don't know if I've hauled this one yet, so forgive me. The Sovereign by C.L. Clarke. This is the 3rd book in their Magic of the Lost series, and this lighting is not going to do this cover justice. It is quite beautiful. Maybe further back. This is a series I'm not sure when I'm going to get to, but I'm hoping to read this alongside is it Tasha Shuri, the Jasmine Throne series, because I believe they were like in the Sapphic trifecta back in the day, and they both have Sapphic romances in there, I believe. So I'll try and read those sort of like one for one in the series, but I have that now, so at least that trilogy is complete. Speaking of completed trilogies, from that secondhand bookshop, I picked up Mistress of the Empire. This is book 3 in the, whatever this series is called, Daughter of the Empire, and Servant of the Empire is the series with Raymond D. Feist and Jenny Wirtz. So, fun story about this one is that this particular bookshop I don't go to all that often. I have probably been there a handful of times since we've lived in Perth, but I do try and go like once every 6 months or so. I picked up book 1 of the series there, and then I picked up book 2 of the series there on separate occasions, and this time when I went, they had book 3. So it's like, well, maybe just some other reader out there is like reading them and then donating them, and I just picked it up when I've had the opportunity to get there. So that was fun to get that one. That is a series I would like to put on my 2027 TBR. We'll see. I'm not even like anywhere close to cracking my 2026 TBR. Now, the next 3 are part of a series, and I picked them up because they were all together at that same secondhand bookstore. I've owned book 1 for years. I've not read it, but then this bookstore had the rest of the series. And this is the Books of the Cataclysm by Sean Williams. So I picked up book 2, which is The Blood Debt. Book 3, The Hanging Mountains. And book 4, my favorite cover of the set, The Devoured Earth. I know this one is green. However, I do love a purple cover as well. I think that is beautiful. I have no idea when I'm going to read this series. Absolutely none. But now I own it. So it'll be on the shelf of things to read at some point in my lifetime. Now, I picked up a couple of new things. So we've got a couple of trans authors, or let's just say non-cis authors, that I would like to shout out, and these happened fairly early in the year as well. So the first one I've got is a YA called Queen of Faces by Petra Lord. A buddy of mine over on Bookstagram, Kwan, I think Such a Bibliophile is his username, said that he really, really liked this one, and I was like, sold. Cover, gorgeous, trans queen, amazing. So I have that one to read at some point. I don't tend to gravitate towards YA, so again, I need to be in the mood for it, but hoping to read a bit more sort of diversely. That is definitely an aim of this year. A trans mask story, You Weren't Meant to Be Human. This is by Andrew Joseph White. Now, I have heard a few things about this author, been on my radar for a little while now. I believe this one is about trans male pregnancy, and it's a horror, so it's a body horror, so I will need to be in the right frame of mind to read it. I, as a trans man, have certain feelings about my body parts when it comes to the idea of pregnancy, so I'll have to be in a pretty good headspace to read this one, but I'm very interested in doing so. And the last of the non-cis authors is Moonflow. This is by Bitter Corella, and they describe themselves as a transvestite goblin. And I was like, say no more. And this was also in the horror section. So I think trans allegory and horror go really well together because we do feel a certain way about our bodies, and that the horror genre does allow for that exploration, and this cover is also stunning. So looking forward to all of those. Sticking on the horror train, I've got The Feeding. This is by A.L. Ryan, or Anthony Ryan, as most people know him in the fantasy sphere. This, I believe, is a werewolf horror, but I love this cover. Unbiasedly, it's very similar to the Alpha cover with the jaw here, and I've not read anything by Anthony Ryan, but I've definitely been gravitating towards horror, so I picked this up. I'll read it when I get there. My reading has been trash this year, so I have no business buying this many books, but here we are. I picked up The Warrior Moon by Kay Arsenault Rivera. Yeah. I loved book 1, The Tiger's Daughter. Loved it. Book 2, very lukewarm on. And I went to a bookstore which I know had this series and bought book 3. These covers are also just gorgeous. I'm hoping book 3 picks it up and I enjoy it. If I do enjoy this one more than I enjoyed book 2, I probably will buy book 2 to have the set. If not, I'll donate this one and just keep book 1. Like, I'm fine with just having the book that I had a really good time with and donating the others. So I read book 2 off the Kobo subscription, so I didn't end up like paying for that outside of the subscription. I also picked up book 3 of the Sword of Shadows. No, book 3? Yeah, Sword of Shadows. A Sword from Red Ice by J.V. Jones. I believe book 5 is currently being edited at the moment. I am hoping to read this series in 2027. I really, really liked The Book of Words by J.V. Jones. So I would like to read more from her at some point in my lifetime. And if book 5 is on its way, which I think is the penultimate book, then it's probably a good time to get into the series. Now, I spoke about this one, we'll try that again. I spoke about this one at length on a vlog earlier this year. This is Necessary Fiction by Elahosa Osundi, and this book broke me. And it's probably up there with my favourite book of the year so far. And look, I haven't read that many books. There is still a chance. We're coming into May, but this, I think, would be hard-pressed to be knocked off the top of the list for my reads of this year. Speaking of favourite books, this is a favourite book of all time. I own this book already, but I could not walk past this edition. It is in such good nick from a secondhand bookstore, and it has Jenny Wirtz's artwork on it. This is To Ride Hell's Chasm. I have a mass market paperback, which I have read. It's quite beaten up. This, however, is just gorgeous. And it's got the original artwork on it by Jenny. And if you haven't read this book, go and read this book. It is fantastic. I have never read a standalone book that feels like a 7-book series. This book is about 700 pages long. Each 100 pages feels like its own season, almost. It is this is the way to write a standalone. If I get to write something like this, I'll never be this good. I understand that. But if I get to write something in this concept where you read a standalone, at the end of it you go, holy shit, that felt like I'd read a 7-book series. I've made it as an author. That's the goal. The bar is up here. Now, I had this book. I swore I had a copy of this book, and I do not know what I did with it, but I saw it at the secondhand bookstore. This is A Taste of Gold and Island? A Taste of Gold and Iron by Alexandra Rowland. And this is a male romantasy. I have a bit of a soft spot for them on occasion. This one has beautiful flowery prose. I will probably read this one again, and I cannot find my copy. So I saw it at the bookstore and picked it up. I hope this isn't my copy and I donated it and then bought it back. I don't know. I have no idea. It got lost in the move, or I put it somewhere that I never found again, and now I have another copy. Coming up to the end of this, I've got The 1,000 Deaths of Arda Ben. Now, this by Tyler Whitesides. This was the first book that I picked up in that secondhand bookstore, and I have to I lay blame on myself. We can't blame other people for our actions. But I saw Taylor from May Between the Pages talk about this one in a couple of vlogs, and working her way through it quite slowly, enjoying it, but not feeling the need to blitz this book. And I was really, really curious. And it was the first thing that I saw when I walked into this secondhand bookstore, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. And that was basically it. I just was like, oh, okay, I'm curious enough. And it was well priced for the story. So I have that. I didn't realize how chunky it was when I first saw it. Speaking of not realizing how chunky books were, this is the second last one I have here. This is The Legend of Eli Monpress by Rachel Aaron. I know relatively nothing about this book except for, I think it was Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads enjoyed it. And I'm really curious about Rachel Aaron as an author. I have a few of her books on my Kindle or my Books Palmer. But this one was really well priced, and it's in excellent condition for a secondhand book. So I picked it up. It looks like it's heisty. It says not just any thief, charming thief. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about heist stories. I'm pretty middle of the road on them, but we'll see. Well priced. I'm curious about the author, so pick that one up. Really, really good condition. Most of these books from that secondhand bookshop are very, very good condition. The last one I have here is a project that I've been working on in the background. You might or might not have noticed that I'm not posting as much. This is taking up a little bit of my time in the back end, and it is releasing on May 19th. I've got an eARC copy of Together is a Distant Star by many, many talented authors, and I've been helping with their social media plans in the back end. So that's sort of part of the reason that I've been a little bit less frequent in posting over here, is that this is happening and it is launching just before Rachel and I go away to the UK. So trying to help authors push out their media and organising things like interviews and talking behind the scenes and launch parties has been taking up a bit of my time. I have read this. The quality of the short stories in here from a... am I biased because I've been part of this project potentially, but I am not biased in terms of the quality of the stories. Does that make sense? Like, I'm chuffed that I'm involved in this in some capacity. I have not written anything for this anthology. I'm purely in the back end, so just sort of helping where I can. The quality of the stories in here is just fantastic. What I love about this is just how this book is set out as well. The pre-order should be live by the time this video goes up, so I'll have it linked down below if you're curious. The art call-outs will be going out on April 30th, so if you're keen on an eARC, let me know in the comments down below. I'll have that link down there as well. And I'll do a round on the 30th of April, and then I'll do a round probably the first week of May to cut off by May 19th. So that is the last physical book that I have. I've read it. I think it's fantastic. There's a real range of stories in here. The dark, the hopeful, the idea behind this anthology is belonging. And it's definitely not the last you'll hear from me talking about that. So those are the books that I've bought, either digitally or physically, from January through to April. I don't know when I'll do another book haul. I'm hoping I can buy some books in the UK while I'm there. I'd love to visit a Waterstones, but we are a little bit limited with the weight of the luggage that we can bring back. So we'll see. If you like the video, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next one. Ciao.